What's up, YouTube? This is Ribo at the Bench doing a review of this Leatherman Style CS 6-tool multi-tool, kind of a pocket, keychain type deal from Leatherman. Before we get into the review, let's do a watch check today in the classic, dependable Winger Swiss Military on the brown and khaki NATO. Just a great combination and fantastic watch, great lume. I've reviewed it before, but just really love this watch. Not very expensive, but man, it's a great little watch. All right, so let's get into the review. So size comparison real quick. I'm going to leave it folded up like this and bring in the Ontario Rat 2. So immediately you can tell this is a very, very small tool. And then I have this old Leatherman that was actually my grandfather's. I don't know what model this is, but this is a very old Leatherman, but you can see kind of the size there. So very, very small. I'll go ahead and open it up, and I'll go ahead and open this guy up as well. So you'll notice a couple things right off the bat. So first of all, classic Leatherman, you have your pliers as the main tool. On this, you actually have scissors, which is kind of interesting, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. But that is the main difference. So I said price, I believe, is around 25 bucks. I want to say that the steel, like on the knife and the scissors, I want to say 8CR13 MOV, which is pretty typical for something like this. That's about what you'd expect. You can see that this is a keychain deal. So I actually brought in some keys that I have. One of the issues that I've been having is actually clipping this. You can see that when I go to clip it, it does have some issues actually, releasing all the way. So I actually have to kind of finagle this, and this is just a pretty typical Night Eyes carabiner. But I will say that right off the bat, the clip has been a little difficult to use, which is not a huge deal, but kind of annoying and didn't give me a great first impression when I first got it. So let's talk about this. So I believe you have 6 tools. So you have the knife, just a small little knife, nothing too special, but works just fine, came fairly sharp. You also obviously have the scissors, which I just showed. You have a set of tweezers right here that are steel tweezers that kind of slide right into the frame, if I can actually do that through the viewfinder. And then you have, I believe they say, a screwdriver, Phillips head, flathead. You have a nail file here, and you have, I believe they called this a bottle opener, and they may have attached another tool function to this piece. So not a ton on here, especially if you're used to Leathermans. You're used to just tools being all over the place. There's not a ton here, but it is fairly small for what it is, so not a huge deal. I do like the fact that it has tweezers. However, these are very difficult to get all the way seated. In fact, when I first got it, this was seated further down, and I've really struggled to get it all the way down. And sometimes, I don't know, it's sharp, it's not super fluid, it's kind of difficult. Yeah, so overall, just kind of spoiler, not super thrilled with this for a couple reasons. Number one, I thought that it was interesting that these are actually scissors and not pliers. So the one good thing I'll say is that the spring action is fantastic. So when I open these, that's just great. I mean, they really feel great. I think it's a good kind of in the hand feels quality. I do really like that. However, and I don't really have an issue with them being scissors at all. I thought it was pretty interesting. Kind of was thinking, yeah, I'll use scissors, in day-to-day life when I don't want to use a knife, or when it's just easier. Absolutely. And so the first thing I did with these was try to cut up some old credit cards, and it was awful. First of all, this is a very, very small blade. So again, looking up to your average pocket knife, it's 1/2 to 1/3 of the size. And that's fine for what it is, but what that means is because it's so small and because you have this collar here where the handle starts. As you're cutting through paper, you basically reach a point right there where you start to bind, and it makes it very difficult to cut. And so even cutting a credit card, which is not very long, took forever because I was having to go at it from different angles and stuff, and it was just not very good. Secondly, the ergonomics are just not very good. So if using the scissors is the main function, anytime you're bearing down, especially from this side, you have this kind of sharp frame here, and it just doesn't feel very good. It's actually pretty painful. I was kind of surprised as I'm kind of cutting through the card, having to bear down. You either have this thing hitting you kind of in the palm of your hand, or you're bearing down on this kind of open, sharp kind of frame, and really uncomfortable. It seems like if that's kind of the main purpose of these, that they could have done a little bit better job of finishing and making it a little bit more ergonomic. Overall, just not thrilled. So yeah, I mean, there's not a ton to say about this. It's so small. It's such like a small little multi-tool. Cut or carry, definitely cut for me. I'll be selling these. I picked them up because I got a good deal and I wanted to review them. I've also had my eye on an updated Leatherman, since this is the only one that I currently have. And this is great, but it's very old. It was my either great-grandfather's or my grandfather's originally. And I really like it, but I don't want to use and abuse it. You can see some rust spots developing. And so I've been looking at a, maybe a juice or one of those that I can grab just to, have on a keychain. And I thought, maybe this will fulfill that desire, because I'm not going to use all the tools on a typical Leatherman every day. But I would like a multi-tool. Unfortunately, this thing really fell flat. It was not comfortable to use. The knife is really totally fine on it for what I'd expect. That's probably my favorite thing about it, is that you see that the knife really keeps the same plane as the handle, which I like, making it easy to sharpen. It actually has a little sharpening choil there, which I actually did not notice until right now, but that's pretty cool. So the knife has actually been, I think, the best thing about this. However, I also carry a pocket knife, so that's not the main reason I'm using a multi-tool. It's very difficult to clip, as I mentioned. I've not had very good success with that so far. And then this set of tweezers, I still have not been able to get these seated down. So there's just a lot of things that are just not well designed here. I will say it looks cool. I do like the kind of wave approach that Leatherman has taken recently with their folders. I think when you unfold this thing, immediately it does feel great. That spring action is just fantastic. However, it just does not deliver when it's all said and done. So yeah, I will be selling this and hopefully picking up a juice or some other small Leatherman to review here shortly. So hope you enjoyed this review. Again, cut or carry. This will be a cut for me. Yeah, so we will see you next time. Thanks.